Now, the name TC Electronics has been around since 1976. In that time, they've done lots and lots of pedals, effects, and bass amps too, and all manner of other things. I've got the TC Helicon voice harmonizer, which is great, and you can see the video on that by clicking the link below. Now, today I'm going to demonstrate their Nova system. Now, the manual here says 2008 in the front page, and here we are in 2019, and they're still being sold. So 11 years must mean there's quite a lot right with it, and I'm going to demonstrate the main features of this now. Now, we've got lots and lots of stomp box type things here. We've got pitch, reverb, compression, and drive, modulation, delay, boost, and a tap tempo for things like setting your delay or your chorus rate or whatever, and you hold that to tune up. So everything's there. Now, with a lot of the modern day sort of pedals like this, the wah-wah is very often not included anymore. Now, that tends to be on the sort of higher end systems, but one of the reasons why it's not here is because actually, if you look online with a lot of these ones that do have a wah-wah pedal or an expression pedal, the pedals very often break, or they're just not very nice, or they just, you know, they're a bit delayed in the sound they use, and lots of people just put a Crybaby or a Vox Wah or something in front of this, and everything's solved. However, I do have an expression pedal here. This one, it's actually a Roland keyboard one, but it can be used with this system to do various things. It can do anything like pitch, or because it's got the whammy thing that TC Electronics were famous for. Now, I'm just going to quickly go into the menu here and just tweak that pedal to set it to drive gain. Now, that's the first thing I'm going to show you. The drive channel on this, or the drive circuit if you will, is completely analog. Now, that's really important, because actually it's something that's really tricky to get right with digital technology, but it also feels better when you're riding the volume control or you've got your effects pedal. Sure, the controls are digital sort of style on this, but the circuit is analog. Now, to start with, I've just got my Telecaster here, first solid body electric guitar way back from 1950, through this, a similar slice of Americana, a 40-watt Fender Blues amp. We all know where we are with that. Great combination, winning combination. Now, through this, I'm going to have the drive control on first. Now, that's a button down here. There's quite a lot of drive there, and it makes this sustain really nicely. Now, the drive is set by this pedal. So with the pedal in a minimum position, it's not much different from the clean sound. We also have a boost pedal on this, a boost button. Now what that does is it literally just lifts the level wherever you are. Just so you can punch out those if you've got a clean line. And you can set the amount of boost in the menus and all that. So there's your drive and your boost. Now the drive, we've got distortion and overdrive. We're on distortion at the moment. Whenever you press the drive button up here, it opens up a set of parameters. You've got a gain, which is actually, if you look at the display here, the gain is 30 dB at the moment, which is a lot, and then the pedal will reduce it to 0, which means technically no drive. We've got tone control. I mean, this is the sort of thing that you'd find on a stomp box, you know, drive, level, tone, for example, and that's pretty much what we've got here. So the tone just takes all the top end away. You know, I don't like too much treble. And the level allows you to set the distortion with respect to the clean sound. Yeah, it's alright, but you just play with that in a gig and it's just one button. You don't have to go through lots and lots of menus. That said, things like this, there's, you know, you've only got the functions you need and very little of what you don't need. On modern day stuff, more sort of where you've got touch screen and pretty pictures, sure, there are things like how far you want the mic away from your amplifier. Now, there's no amp simulator on here either, but that's fine because it's designed to be used with a box with a speaker in it, and I like that. I think most guitarists prefer to have an amplifier behind them. It's a bit like playing a piano or an electric keyboard. It's the same sort of thing. So, moving on, we've got modulation. Now, what that means is it changes the pitch of your incoming signal slightly. Things like chorus, phasing, flanger, that sort of thing. So if I go into modulation and go up to chorus, it sounds like an old Boss chorus pedal. It's lovely. And you can set the speed. Now the speed is measured in hertz here, that's fine. 0.316 hertz means one sort of revolution every 3 seconds. And there it is, you can hear that whole thing took that length of time, but just tweak to whatever you like. Tempo disabled. Now what does that mean? Well, this has got MIDI in and out, and you can have a MIDI clock or MIDI tempo coming into this thing, so it can set your chorus to whatever sort of rate you want, whether it be an eighth note a quarter or an eighth dotted or whatever it is you want. Depth control, we all know what that does if you turn it all the way up. Ooh, and sort of sagging at the end here. Now, wherever there's an arrow here at the top right with like a dark arrow, it means there's another set of controls. Only 2 sets, but that's all you want. You don't want to be scrolling through tons and tons of settings which you don't want. Mix of 100%. You can hear that it's varying the pitch in real time, which is what a chorus does. You want to mix it with your direct signal, but if you want the mix of 100%, it's there. High cut means that you can take the top end down if you want. It's measured in kilohertz. So a high cut of 63 hertz means you've basically taken away that chorus. And there it is back. Okay, so staying with the modulation, if we go down another stage, we've got flanger. You've got your main menus of the effect, and then the little sort of, you know, and then the adjustments in the window. It's all very intuitive. I've had a look at the manual, but I'm just playing with this, pretty much just going with it really. Now, any of these presets that you like, say you've got a favourite flanger or a favourite phaser or whatever, you can store it with these buttons by just clicking one of them and hold to save. And it even says that, variations, hold to save. So you don't have to have the manual in front of you, you just have a play and get those really nice sounds. Vibrato. Now this is proper vibrato. Vibrato is a variation in pitch. Some people think that vibrato means the same as tremolo, and it doesn't. Vibrato changes the pitch of the note. And it works with chords as well, which is really useful. We'll come to that in a minute with the pitch shifter and the octaver, but it listens to all the notes and does the same to all of them. It doesn't get confused like lots of pedals do. Phaser. Lovely. Tremolo. This is what I was saying just now. Tremolo is a variation in volume. panner is the next one, but I've only got one amplifier here. It's got stereo output, so left and right, which means you can have two guitar amps. So if you've got a power amp with two speakers with a guitar processor as well, you can feed that and you can wash effects around your left right image. Haven't got that here, so we'll move on. Delay. Let's just go to the top. Delay, it just means echo. And we can change the mix, for example, so you can have more delay, more level. We can go back and take the feedback all the way down to... Feedback of 0 means you'll only get one repeat. So you can do things like setting it up to make it sound like you're playing a bit faster than you are. Oh, nice. Let's just take it a bit faster. And then we've got varying different types of delay. We've got an analog delay, which is just a bit less refined than that digital one. Tape delay, which is basically reel-to-reel machine, the WEM copycat. It's a bit different to that, but it involved a record head and lots of playback heads, which you could then vary the level of. There are various very subtly different kind of delays, but just play with them at your leisure. Now, let's have a look. Pitch. That's the next one. Now, let's go to pitch shifter first. In the display, you can see two figures, 1055 and 408. You think, oh, what does that mean then? It's measured in cents. Now, there are 100 cents in a semitone. So if I set voice 2, for example, to be... I'll tell you what, let's go to 1200, because that is an octave. I'll take the other voice and just put it to 0 for the moment. Then we can have a little listen to that. Now, basically what this means is that it will output something that is an octave higher. Now you can set the delay of this as well, and set the delay to as little as possible. Now there is obviously some processing going on here where it can't do it exactly instantaneously, but it'll do a pretty good job. It's got to 2 octaves. Tracks very well with bends and chords. That's very nice. You can go down. Takes a little bit of searching because it's got to create something that is essentially a lower frequency, so it needs more of the higher frequency to work out what it's doing. So pitch down is not quite as easy to track. So if we go back to we go to 700 cents or something, for example, let's try that. 700 cents is a diatonic perfect fifth, so you get a fifth above whatever note you're playing. I mean, you know. But it means you can play faster things with a fifth. Doesn't always work, because the way that a diatonic scale works, it can get a bit confusing. But these are really useful effects that you might want in a particular line. It's all here. Octave. Now, this is a bit like the shifter that we had, but it is literally only in octaves. Oh, yeah. Nice. Now, the whammy. Now this, you can set your, if I go back to my pedal menu, you can set your pedal to change the pitch. There we go. So I've got it going all the way from, essentially from fundamental note to 2 octaves above that. And of course you can set that back if you go back into your pitch. You can go down as well. Yeah, great, and it sounds pretty good. It's good as an effect, especially if you've got sort of reverb and delays with it, for example. Yeah, a bit of Gershwin there, Rhapsody in Blue with a whammy bar pedal. Nice. Okay, so moving on. We've got something called detune. Now, what this does is it just puts 2 notes, one's either both up or one each side of your main note. It doesn't vary it in time like a chorus does, so it's a bit of like a static chorus, if you will. I mean, I'm fairly sure your audience would probably leave the room if you did that too much. But you can set it to be a very subtle detune, so it does sound a bit more sort of like a chorus, for example. So it's like a chorus that doesn't move in a sort of the grand scheme, as it were. Now, IntelliPitch. C Ionian. Now, what the hell does that mean? Ionian is a major scale. That's quite nice. It's even nicer when it's subtle, when you haven't got those pitches any louder than that, really. Now we can change the scale. We can make it a... Now you have to do a little bit of tweaking here. But now, if I took that off, it's now C minor. And you've got a choice of scales you can just have all day, just, you know, making, let's have a look. Yes, Dorian, and then it goes all to diminished whole tone. I mean, that's tone, semitone, tone, semitone. You know, we're getting into the realms of sort of deep physics with that. Now, the reverb we just touched on just now. Do I really want to adjust that? Not really. It sounds great. You have 4 choices. You've got spring, hall, room or plate. What more do you want? You don't want this decay, that decay, or how quickly the high frequencies just... You don't want that. You just want to press reverb and just get your sound. Now, compressor. What does compressor do? Well, it squeezes your dynamic range of your signal. So, for example, if I've got this... a very large range there at the moment. I've got loud and quiet. Now, what the compressor does is it squeezes that dynamic range. So if you've got a riff that's really hard to play, for example, you can, so you can't get much power out of it, you can use the compressor to help you. So sort of... Now, if I go to the compressor itself, I've got all of that. Whereas a lot of variation in there. Now, you might want that. You might want lots of dynamics, but if you're playing a line that you just want... You might just want a relaxing sort of line that just sits over the top of the mix, and that's what's done in the studio with vocals as well, is to get there with a compressor. And there we go. Now, that drive control is, for me, just works really nicely. Oh, I've just got to go back into my menu and change my pedal back to where are we? Back to drive gain. There we go. Now we've got overdrive as well as an alternative, which is more sort of an overloading of a clean channel rather than a synthetic distortion. But of course I've got to go into my menu again and my pedal and just go to my drive gain. There we go. I think it sounds really good. You don't want too many controls. You just want to play this thing and just have fun with it. And this unit here really does allow you to do that. Now, if you hold the tap tempo button, you get a tuner. And of course, by default, it just mutes it, so you're in between. You go, yeah, this next one's gone, yeah, and you're tweaking your tuning. You don't have to have that. You could have the tuner output just standard, or instead of muted, and then you just press your tap tempo again just to go back. Now you can configure this. At the moment, everything happens in series in a certain order. Usually you'd have your drive first, and it goes into your other things, and delay and reverb tend to come at the end. But you can have some things in parallel, and the algorithms are given in the menu. There's 3 different ones. There's series, or there's parallel, and then there's another parallel thing. But really,